May 24th, 2022. In Uvalde, Texas, a quiet elementary school became the center of a nightmare. A young girl hid inside a closet, clutching her phone. Her hands were shaking, her voice barely above a whisper, as she told the 911 operator, "Please, send the police." And on the other side of that call, the operator could hear the deafening crack of gunfire echoing through the hallway. By the end of that day, 19 children and 2 teachers would never return home. Now I want you to imagine something. What if that had been your child? Would you still believe that unrestricted gun ownership is the ultimate symbol of freedom? Or would you question whether freedom has turned into something darker, something deadlier? This is the paradox of America, a nation founded on the ideals of liberty, where the right to bear arms is written into its very constitution, and yet at the same time, a nation where headlines about mass shootings have become so frequent that some people barely flinch anymore. Guns in America are not just weapons. They are symbols. They are traditions. They are political battlefields. And they are, tragically, often the instruments of unimaginable grief. Today, I want to take you on a journey, not just through the history of guns in America, but through the emotions, the contradictions, the voices of both sides. By the end, you might not have a simple answer, because there is no simple answer, but you'll feel what millions of Americans feel every single day, the tension between freedom and fear. Let's rewind history. December 15th, 1791. The Bill of Rights is ratified, and among its 10 amendments is the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To the Founding Fathers, these words weren't about hunting, they weren't about sport, they were about survival. The memory of British tyranny was fresh. They feared not only foreign invaders, but also the possibility that their own government could someday turn on them. The gun was not just a tool, it was a guarantee that the people would never be powerless against oppression. Fast forward to the 19th century, and guns became more than a right. They became a cultural identity. The frontier, the Wild West, the cowboy with his revolver. Firearms were romanticized in dime novels, glorified in movies, enshrined in the American imagination as symbols of rugged independence. Owning a gun meant you could protect your homestead, hunt for food, and assert yourself in a lawless land. That cultural DNA has never left America. Even today, for many Americans, a gun is not a threat. It's a lifeline, a family heirloom, a rite of passage. But here's the contradiction. In 2025, there are over 400 million guns in circulation in the United States. More guns than people. According to Pew Research, about 44% of American households report having at least one firearm. Many owners will tell you, "I feel safer with a gun in my home." They'll tell you stories about scaring off a burglar, or about learning to shoot with their father on hunting trips, or about how carrying a pistol makes them confident when walking alone at night. For them, the gun is not the villain, it's the trusted companion. And yet, America leads the developed world in gun-related deaths. Over 40,000 people die each year from gun-related injuries, whether homicide, suicide, or accidents. The numbers are not just statistics, they are broken families, empty bedrooms, dinner tables with one less chair. Every time there's a mass shooting, a familiar cycle plays out. Grief, outrage, calls for reform, and then gridlock. Why? Because gun ownership in America is not just a personal issue, it's a political war zone. On one side, you have millions of Americans who demand stricter gun control, universal background checks, bans on assault-style weapons, limits on magazine capacity. They argue that no civilian needs a weapon designed for war. They point to Australia, which drastically reduced gun violence after enacting sweeping reforms in the 1990s. They ask, how many more schools have to be shot up? How many more concerts? How many more supermarkets? On the other side, you have groups like the NRA, the National Rifle Association, with its powerful lobbying machine. Their mantra, guns don't kill people, people kill people. They argue that criminals will always find ways to get weapons, and that restricting guns only leaves law-abiding citizens defenseless. They say the Second Amendment is not negotiable. It's not a privilege, it's a right. For them, every attempt at reform is a slippery slope toward government control and eventually toward the erosion of freedom itself. And so, America is stuck. Imagine two realities existing in the same country. In New York City, strict gun laws make it incredibly difficult to carry a firearm in public. In Texas, meanwhile, you can openly carry a handgun without a permit. To a New Yorker, seeing someone with a gun on their hip might spark fear. To a Texan, it might barely register as unusual. One country, two completely different cultures colliding over the same object, the gun. Now let's return to that little girl in Uvalde. Or think of the parents in Sandy Hook who sent their first graders off to school on a December morning in 2012 and never saw them alive again. Or the concert goers in Las Vegas in 2017 who heard music one moment and gunfire the next. These stories cut through politics. They force us to confront the raw human cost. And yet, after every tragedy, America asks the same question. Will this finally be the moment something changes? And time again, the answer is, not yet. But then, talk to a farmer in rural Montana who tells you that his nearest police station is 40 minutes away. If someone breaks into my house, he says, I can't wait 40 minutes. My gun is my safety. Or the single mother in Alabama who keeps a pistol by her bedside because she lives in a rough neighborhood and feels she has no other protection. For them, giving up their guns feels like giving up their security, their agency, their right to exist freely. So here we are, caught in the tension. America's gun debate is not just about laws, it's about identity. It's about what it means to be American. To some, the gun is a curse that has cost too many lives. To others, it is a blessing that has safeguarded their freedom for over 2 centuries. Neither side sees themselves as villains. Both sides believe they are fighting for survival. And maybe that's why the debate never ends. Because it's not just about numbers or policies, it's about fear and trust and history and trauma. It's about a constitution written in the 18th century colliding with the realities of the 21st. It's about a country that prides itself on liberty, but also longs for safety. As you listen, I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if it were your child in that closet, whispering to a 911 operator? What would you do if it were your family facing an armed intruder, and the only thing between you and danger was the gun in your drawer? Where do we draw the line between protection and destruction, between freedom and chaos? The truth is, America is still searching for that line, and until it finds it, the sound of gunfire will continue to echo, sometimes as a symbol of freedom, sometimes as the soundtrack of tragedy, but always as part of the American story.